What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Scraps and Taps. I'm Jason. Here we are again, another maybe lost video. I recorded one before, and I just messed it all up. I think it was for DDP Hamzat, and I was trying to edit the video, and I ended up deleting the raw footage, like a rookie would. So there was that. But we're back. Hopefully I don't fuck up this video. Hopefully I don't keep messing with this thing because it keeps moving the camera. I'm gonna move this. I was gonna move the camera a lot. But we're back. So this week, or this last Saturday, we had UFC Paris, Imavov versus Bohaio. A couple fighting nerds, guys. I think we had Hoofy, Bohaio. I think that was it, if I'm not mistaken. But in the main event, Nasruddin Imavov versus Bohaio. Seemingly what was the number one contender for the middleweight division, the new champ Hamzat. The co-main event was Benoit Saint Denis versus Mauricio Hoofy. We had what it seemed like it was Paris versus Brazil. I think we had a few, like 5 fights that it was the Paris versus Brazilians, and the Parisians had a 5-0 sweep against those gosh darn Brazilians. Man, at one point in the UFC, if you were set up to fight a Brazilian, I mean, you would feel like it's over. It's like that Key and Peele sketch, if you've ever seen it, the one where he goes like, "I will kill this man and feed my family," or whatever, and this guy's like, what do you say? At one point, Brazilians were just like, you did not want to be set up with the Brazilian dude back then. That was like, I don't even fucking know. But anyways, from the main event, Imavov just seemed like he was quicker to the punch, a lot more stand up in this fight than takedowns. There were some couple takedown defenses, and takedowns, but Imavov was just faster. He seemed like he was just willing to stand there and trade, and he would pop in and out and use his range, and but man, he was sticking Bohaio with some stiff shots, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the main event. Imavov says he wants the title next, which, like I said in the beginning, we were looking at number one contender for Hamzat. But who knows? The fight game is always a wacky place to be in. Benoit Saint Denis comes back to Paris with the win over Hoofy. Hoofy coming off that insane KO of King Green, spinning wheel kick knockout, which is beautiful. BSD coming back to Paris, back to his hometown, to secure the rear naked choke at the later stages of round 2. BSD, the last time he was in Paris, he got knocked the fuck out by Dustin Poirier, so it must have been really nice to come back and get the win back in his hometown. Let's see the rest of the card. We did have a fight cancel, which was honestly, nobody was really clamoring to see Patricio Pitbull back in the octagon after the last couple fights he's had, or the last fight he's had. I think it was like a weight miss. Even I think there was a video that came out that the opponent, Losine Keita, was like pleading with Pitbull to try and salvage what was left the fight, to still fight him, even though it's whatever because of the weight miss. But you know what? That's part of the game, is making the weight. So it sucks that the fight fell through, but sometimes that's part of the job, is making that weight. Let's see. The rest of the card, we were looking at Modestas Bukauskas defeating Paul Craig by some ground and pound, which was unfortunately Paul Craig's retirement fight. His last fight in the octagon. I mean, that guy. I remember when he broke Jamal Hill's arm. I mean, he was a slick jiu-jitsu guy. You could not go to the ground with him without having to be on all your senses, because he can just wrap something up super quick. I think he was just known for his slick like arm triangles, his triangle choke. Sorry. Bolaji Oki versus Mason Jones. Jones wins by TKO. Axel Sola versus Reese McKee. Gomi versus Ruchata. Gomi gets the win. Omar Sy versus Brendan Ribeiro. Sy gets the win from TKO. Tybura versus Ante Delija. I believe this is the one where Delija is like a teammate of Tom Aspinall, and Tom Aspinall was like up in arms about him. But that was UFC Paris. Congrats to the winners. Hope to see the losers back in the win column at some point. All right. Let's switch over to some bare knuckle news. So as we've seen, BKFC has gotten a huge string of fighters, a huge string of ex-UFC fighters. One of them fighting pretty soon. Actually, a couple of them fighting pretty soon. First, we actually have coming up on September 12th, we got BKFC 80, Perdomo versus Adams 2. So we have Leonardo Perdomo and Arnold Bome Adams, an 8-0 Leonardo and a 7-4 Arnold. But that's the main event. Co-main Edgar Plazola versus Gary Fox, 5-0 versus 3-2. But that's not what brings me here. When I said those string of fighters that they signed, they decided to sign Yoel freaking Romero, the soldier of God. I mean, him to step in the bare knuckle cage at his age. I mean, this guy's an old dude. He's been fighting in the UFC for a long time, and just, I mean, if you can think of a mutant in the UFC, this is what you think about. Yoel freaking Romero, like 45 years old. This guy's still shredded, still freaking huge. Versus Theo Dukas. And I'm looking at the BKFC website right now, and it doesn't look so hot for my guy Theo Dukas right now. It looks like Theo is a lamb being led to slaughter, it seems like. But who knows? It's a fight game. Anything can change with the punch. But, I mean, y'all was just in the DBX ring and absolutely demolished his opponent. So it's going to be interesting to see him without any gloves on. Also on this card that I was looking at, going further down, we have, I believe, the debut of Kimbo Slice Jr. Baby Slice is making his bare knuckle debut versus Derek Perez, a 4-4 bare knuckle fighter whose picture is interesting. Bobby Henry versus Stash Kuykendall. But man, that's what we got here for BKFC 80 in Hollywood, Florida at the Hard Rock Casino. So everybody, September 12th, get your popcorn ready. In other news, Frankie Edgar was one of also those signings, along with Thiago Santos, Aspen Ladd, Jeremy Stevens, I believe, is coming back, but he's already fought there. Frankie Edgar coming back to the fight game with a fight on, I think, on October 12th, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry, October 4th for BKFC 282. Perry versus Stephens for the King of Violence title. But that's where Frankie Edgar will make his debut, at BKFC 82. And, you know, everybody has their concerns about Frankie coming back, especially to something as brutal as bare knuckle. We've seen people like Michael Venom Page, Luke Rockhold, obviously Mike Perry, but he kind of owns that space now. He's not really one to be afraid of that. But who else has shown up? Eddie Alvarez. I mean, some of these guys are tough sons of bitches, because if you're looking to get hurt and make lasting scars and scar tissue on your face, you want to go fight bare knuckle. But from what I heard and just rumors, that he's making like over $1 million, which, if that's true, good for Frankie. He deserves a big payday. And you know what? Fighters fight. That's what they're going to do. That's why you see so many of these old guys coming back to fight boxing matches and fight these things. But bare knuckle's tough. I mean, you've seen Luke Rockhold get his teeth knocked out. You've seen guys you've seen Perry breaks Alvarez's jaw and still continue to fight. I mean, the sport is brutal. And I see this article from MMA Fighting by Damon Martin saying that his family kind of is not excited for him to come back to bare knuckle. But he says he feels good. He says he's ready to get into a fight. And he's fighting another UFC vet in Jimmy Rivera as the co-main event. So, it's going to be I believe it's going to be a good fight. You got that old man strength. But, his in this article, Edgar says that his wife is a little concerned about him doing this. But it's the only way that he can, because it's tough to walk away. He says, I'm not going into this naive. I understand the risk. I'm willing to take the chance. I guess you could say the juice has got to be worth the squeeze. And I feel like it is. It feels like everybody who, in MMA, you have these retirements that I'm retired. And then a year later, 6 months later, something comes at the doorstep and they want back in. So it's not new. But like we said, Edgar is an older guy. He's been in the UFC for a fucking long fucking time. I mean, an insanely long time. But like I said, if it's for the payday, sometimes I was thinking about the sport earlier. I'm like, man, these guys who fight for so long and all that, it's like what keeps them coming back is just the money. Like that's what it is. You think about NFL players and NBA players, they got these unions and things and player match and whatever, but something like the UFC has nothing like that. And I think about these fighters who, it's like reminds me of that Conor McGregor tweet where he's like, get your cheese and see you laters, because that's kind of what it is. You have to make your money and then just dip out, when you're healthy. Like somebody like Demetrius Johnson, he did it right, it seems like. And George Rush St. Pierre, they still are intact and making good money on whatever the fuck they're doing now. But people like Frankie, Frankie has got that same like Eddie Alvarez-esque feel to it, because I think they're both from Philly. So, sorry, no, I think Alvarez is from Philly, and I think Edgar is from New Jersey. Yeah, I think so. But anyways, they're from that same area, and so and they both like to fight. I mean, it's going to be an interesting thing. But also this weekend, we have the big boxing fight, Canelo Alvarez versus Terrence Bud Crawford, going down September 13th. So this weekend, it's going to be a good fight. We got Terrence Bud Crawford going up in weight to fight the champ Canelo Alvarez for the undisputed super middleweight title. We got Callum Walsh, Dana's like boxing baby, versus Fernando Vargas Jr. for the junior middleweights. Honestly, I'm not much of a big boxing person. I wouldn't be able to tell you who Christian Mbili versus Lester Martinez is, or Muhammad Alakel versus John Ornelas. Honestly, I don't know. But what I do know is that this is a big fucking fight. And for somebody like Crawford to go up against Canelo really shows how much this guy wants to be etched in history as the best. So I can always respect somebody trying to go up and make history. But yeah, September 13th in Vegas and live on Netflix, baby. So we are in the Netflix game. And what's going to be interesting is to see, I guess that's always what's interesting about people going up in weight, is how the weight affects them and how they're going to be able to do with, somebody who is naturally at that weight, right? Will it be the power that beats the speed? Will it be the speed that beats the power? Who fucking knows? But that's about that on, like I said, I don't know, maybe to boxing. Maybe I should get into some boxing stuff. I also wanted to talk about the movie The Smashing Machine. You know, A24 always got these great movies, and me having worked in the film industry before, I feel like it's mashing two of my favorite, not my favorite things, I guess it's just one thing that I've done for a while and was part of my career, as part of my life, and another is a passion of mine. So I guess it's two things that I do kind of love coming into one. Obviously you guys know The Smashing Machine, the story about Mark Kerr back in the Pride days, played by The Rock, just came out. And you know, I guess this movie, it's not all about MMA. Obviously with a lot of A24 movies, it seems to be a lot deeper than that. They make a lot more, I guess, artistic movies. But this movie is has everything to do with the Pride days and Mark Kerr and his addiction to painkillers and him being one of the best fighters in Japan at the time. But it turns out to be more of like a love story, which isn't that, I guess, different from any like movie, I guess, between him and his girlfriend. But recently Dwayne got like a 15-minute standing ovation at the Cannes or whatever film, one of the film festivals that they have, and they're talking about an Academy Award for this guy. So I'm really excited to go watch this. It's, from what I see to it visually, it looks very, very beautiful. Whatever colors they use, whatever like by colors I mean like the color grading of the film, it looks, I don't know, just looks very, very vintage. It looks very, very like you're there. You know, some of those shots where you look, it seems like you're watching from like the nosebleeds. I'm really excited to see kind of like the visual aspect of the movie, because you think about those days and you look at like old, like just old videos of how those productions were ran, and everything was so grand. And I mean, they made a big deal about fighting, and I think I feel like they're going to do a good job of visually capturing the, I guess the energy of the time, the visuals of the colors, how important fighting is in a place like Japan, you know. So I'm excited to see visually, you know, and I hear The Rock is doing just insane acting here. I think he slimmed down for this role too, which is crazy to think that this fucking behemoth of, I mean, this rock of a man, The Rock. I can't do that. What The Rock is cooking. But anyways, it's going to be interesting to see The Rock, and also just a very like serious role. But I'm excited to watch it. So like it says it's a complicated relationship between Mark and Dawn, which is the woman that he's seeing in the movie. So I feel like it's going to be a lot about connection, right? And this is just what I'm reading from this article from rollingout.com. But yeah, seeing Mark Kerr on the Ariel Helwani show and seeing some of this stuff and kind of just watching old Pride things from along the time, it's just, I mean, it's going to be very, very, I feel like I'm going to have a good time watching the movie. I don't know if you guys have seen even The Iron Claw, but that was another movie that took me by surprise of how just insanely good that their acting was and all that, from Zac Efron to the guy from The Bear, I forget his name. Everybody's acting was just on point in that movie, and man, I'm hoping that this movie too is one of those ones. But anyways, look into this weekend of fights besides Canelo versus Crawford. We got Diego Lopez in the main event versus John Silva. Ooh, man, you talk about a banger of a fight. And then we got Rob Font versus David Martinez, Rafa Garcia and Jared Gordon in the third fight. Kelvin Gastelum coming back against Dustin Stoltzfus. Alexander Hernandez making a quick turnaround against Diego Ferreira. We got Santiago Luna versus Lei Quang. I think that's all the main card right there. But man, what a banger of a main event. Both guys who deserve it. Two guys from, I think one is from Lobo Gym, where Alexa Grasso trains, and John Silva is the Fighting Nerds. And like I was saying earlier, Fighting Nerds did not do so well in Paris. So John Silva, I think he's one of the last undefeated guys. Should be a banger of a fight. Absolutely. I'm very much looking forward to this. But yeah, that's Jason with the Scraps and Taps. Guys, I hope to see you again next week. Hopefully, maybe it's not another fucking year from now.